So for this month, we've been looking at the practices of mindfulness. Mindfulness is, it's a type of meditation. Most meditation has a component of mindfulness to it. And most mindfulness practices have a meditative quality also. But you can be engaging in mindfulness while you're not traditionally in a meditative state. And you can be in meditation and not really be very mindful about it. So that being said, what we've been working with this month so far is, first off, just an introduction to mindfulness, just what is it, how do we do it, how do we allow it to work in our lives. And then we looked at some of the things that are being done right now, a lot of research about mindfulness and stress reduction and mindfulness in eliminating pain in our lives. This week, we're going to be focusing more on using mindfulness to have a better relationship with our bodies. And, I don't know about anybody else. I mean, you can very easily see that I'm an overweight person, but my body has been a challenge my entire life. So coming to peace with it and coming to a peaceful state of being in relationship with my body has become very important over the last 15 or so years. I have worked through lots of different processes to improve my body conditions, and a lot of it has worked very effectively. When I first started this spiritual journey, I was taking 13 different prescription medicines a day, and I'm down to 4. So I think I've still have had a great deal of improvement with that. And, I've lost 140 pounds and have kept that off for about 6 years now. So, yes, you can look at me and say, well, she's one to talk, but it is. There's a great deal of improvement has happened in my life through my spiritual practices, through applying spiritual practices to the real life situation of being in this body that we have here, these flesh vessels that we're given to be in this particular environment at this time in our lives, in our soul's journey, actually. So we can really experience things in a great way with that. So for the practice of mindfulness and using mindfulness to improve our body conditions and our relationship with our body, one of the things that's really important is to look at how we move in our bodies. I don't know about anybody else, but I have a tendency to just barrel on through things and not really be conscious of my movement as I'm going forward. Historically, I've been known as a clumsy person. At 9 years old, after the third time of falling and breaking something, my parents put me in ballet lessons, which lasted for about 3 years in my life. I'm not sure it improved my grace at all, but it was fun for a 9 to 12-year-old to be in ballet. And what I've found over the years is that most of the time that I fall, most of the times that I have any kind of an accident with my body, it's because my mind was somewhere else. I had lots of things going on in my head. There was, different things that were happening that caused me to not be focusing on the movement of my body. And therefore, then I would, fall and, hurt myself. So, I don't know if anybody else can relate to that, but that's what I've discovered with my life. So if I can begin to be more mindful about every movement that I make, I can get myself into a place where I'm in a better relationship with the movement of my body. And so that my body is then more purposeful. Over the last few years, I've, when I'm anywhere where the terrain is a little bit uneven, I've started using the trekking poles, they call them, the little walking sticks, because it helps me be more mindful about my movement. It's like I'm purposeful because I have this tangible reminder in my hand of the walking stick, and I will be more careful, more cautious of the steps that I take so that I'm not falling and not injuring myself in any way. That's one way. Just this having something with me that keeps me focused on being conscious of my movement. have found that to be really good. But there's a practice that that you can do with your movement. It's called mindful walking. And in this practice, you actually begin to look at every single movement of your foot. And so the foot is, there's several things that happen. We just take our steps naturally. I mean, after we're about probably 2 years old, we never think about stepping again. We just keep going and moving through it. But there are things that happen physiologically in our foot as we are taking a step. And the fabulous Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh has a great video on this, a walking meditation video. And I've watched it for several years now. I just every once in a while pull it out, and it keeps me fresh and keeps reminding me of that. But in this process, he says there are 6 different steps for our foot to go through as we are moving. So let's go through those here tonight, and I have a little diagram that I'm going to show you to help you see that. And so in this process of doing a walking meditation, we're looking at our foot movement in 6 different positions. And so the first thing that we do when we go to take a step is we lift our foot. And generally it's lifting your foot with your heel first, and then your toes come up after that. And so we raise up the heel, and then our toes come up off of the ground. So that's our first 2 steps, raising the heel and then lifting the foot up off the ground. And then we push our foot forward. That's the 3rd step. As we are pushing our foot downward, generally we come down with our heel first, and then we allow our foot to kind of roll until the whole foot is touching the floor. And as we begin to take the next step, our toes actually, again, repeat, our toes touch the floor, lifting up our heel, and then are raising our foot up. And so it's a process of slowly moving our feet in a very mindful way that will help us stay in tune with our body, stay in touch with the process that we're going through. When we take this, and you don't have to do this for an entire walk, but if you take 4 or 5 steps and you are very mindful about those steps, it will begin to bring you into that awareness of the movement of your body in a more conscious way, to where you're actually more intentional about the steps that you are taking. And so again, we are raising up the heel as we roll forward on our toes a little bit, and then we lift up our foot, push the foot forward into the next space, bring it down with our heel, and then it continues to roll forward. So it's not just, we're not flat taking steps like this, but we're kind of touching and rolling our foot forward, and then it lifts up the heel again, and as we push off to take the next step. So when we do this walking meditation, and it's really a great practice to take just a few moments, and you can do this in your home, you don't even have to go outside. Find a place that, you can take 5 or 6 steps in a row, and be very mindful about the process of the movement of your body. Check in with your calves, because your calves are going to contract. That big gastrocnemius muscle at the back of your calf is going to contract when you take that step too. And you might even feel movement on the front muscles of your leg, or the tendons or the ligaments that are attaching your foot and your ankle together and up into your knee. Be mindful of any sensations that you feel in your lower extremities as you're moving. And then also check in with your arms, because we have a natural tendency, as part of our balance and so forth, is to move our arms. We don't keep our arms usually stiff at our sides when we're walking, but our arms are actually moving too. And so look at the coordination between your feet and your arms, and how that is actually part of the whole process of moving and keeping you in balance. It can be a really great practice to be in a mindful state when we are moving through the world around us. Because again, like I said, for me, I find that if I'm not mindful, if my mind is elsewhere, if I'm focused on other things in my life, challenges, wonderful things, things that are happening all the time, I am not focused on what's happening in my body. My body is just like this thing that's, just a vessel, a tool that's getting me through this world. And as I begin to be more focused on what I'm doing in my body, then I begin to have a greater relationship with it. So Thich Nhat Hanh has a beautiful little poem that he has written to go along with his walking meditation. So I thought I would share that with you today. It's entitled Walking Meditation. Take my hand and we will walk. We will only walk. We will enjoy our walk without thinking of arriving anywhere. Walk peacefully. Walk happily. Our walk is a peace walk. Our walk is a happiness walk. There we learn that there is no peace walk, that peace is the walk, that there is no happiness walk, that happiness is the walk. We walk for ourselves. We walk for everyone, always hand in hand. Walk and touch peace every moment. Walk and touch happiness every moment. Each step brings a breeze. Each step makes a flower bloom under our feet. Kiss the earth with your feet. Print on the earth your love and happiness. The earth will be safe when we feel in us enough safety. For me, that is a beautiful visual image of kissing the earth with my feet. And not only as I'm kissing the earth with my feet, I'm actually sending peace and love and joy and happiness into each step. I'm also receiving from the earth that peace and love and happiness and joy that is possible when we are outside communing with nature. If you're in your home walking indoors, imagine kissing the floor of your home with your feet and imbuing in it that idea that this is my sacred ground. This is my holy sanctuary. This is the place where my body thrives, where my soul becomes alive, where I live in joy and peace and happiness. Being very intentional about each step that we take can be a fabulous practice to just increase our awareness of our environment, our awareness of our relationship with the environment, and our relationship with our body. It is really a joyful practice that we can engage in. So the other aspect of this that I've been working with over the years is mindful eating. I don't know about anybody else, but I have a tendency to just eat without thinking about it, which, again, has gotten me to the place where I am in my life. There's something about sitting down to eat and not having my full attention on the food that has, I believe, allowed me to consume more than my body ever needed to consume. This is started when I was very young. I remember the joy of Saturday morning cartoons and a bowl of cereal. My brothers and I would be sitting in the floor, eating our cereal and watching cartoons in the mornings. And then, where our mind is not focused on the food at all. It's more focused on the cartoons and what's happening there. And eating is just a thing to do while we're doing that. And, as I said, because we're not focused on it, then we have a tendency to not check in with our body and to see if we've had enough, because we just keep consuming. It's kind of our natural way of doing things, is we just consume. And so, this, I think, has led to a lot of issues in my life, for sure. And I think in the lives of a lot of other people. I think there's something really powerful to be said about doing everything that we do with intention and getting the most out of the experience at the time. So for mindful eating, it's about eliminating those other distractions, get rid of that kind of stuff out of our environment, set a nice little place setting for yourself at the table. I love fine linens and nice dishes and things like that. And I have a beautiful collection of them. And I find that I don't always pull them out unless I have company. And I thought to myself as I was moving into this new house and putting away some of these beautiful pieces of dishware and linens and stuff that I have, that maybe this is an opportunity for me to be more purposeful and use those things for myself as well as for my guests, for my company. Set a place setting for myself before I sit down to eat. The tendency is to sit down in front of the TV and watch something on Netflix while I'm eating my dinner or my lunch or whatever. It's not been something I've put a lot of attention onto in the past, and I think this is an opportunity for me to begin to do that. And not only to be purposeful about what we're eating, but to, as we're eating, actually feel what's happening in our bodies, activate our senses when it comes to our food. Food is one of those things that is just rich in sensory experiences. So, as you sit down to eat something, spend some time looking at it. Spend some time marveling in this beautiful thing. Especially, this is really good to do with fruit. I love to do fruit because fruit has such great smells, textures, the glisteningness of some of the fruits, the sound when you bite into it, all of the different textures that you feel in your mouth, on your hands. Just actually spend some time sensing the food that we're eating. And as it goes into our mouth, our tongue has taste buds, and different places on our tongue are activated by different tastes. So like bitter for me is on the back side of my tongue. If something's bitter, that's where I taste it. But if I put it right in the middle of my tongue on the front and it's bitter, I don't really taste the bitterness of it. Salt is activated in a different place on your tongue. Sweetness is activated in a different place on your tongue. Move the food around in your mouth and see what all of the sensations are that you're experiencing as it's in your mouth. Just like we did with the walking, look at all the different actions that are going on as you're taking a bite of food. What is happening with your lips when you take the bite? What is happening with the teeth? What is your tongue doing? How is it working with the back of your throat? Take some time and actually be very mindful about this, and then even extend it further. Think about how it's moving through your body. My last 3 years of teaching at the public school system, I taught 6th grade life science. And so our project for Thanksgiving dinner was always, I would have the children, and they had to write a paper on what happened with that bite of turkey or whatever dressing, whatever it was they were eating on Thanksgiving Day, what actually happened in their body. And so we moved it through. What is your mouth doing with the food? What is the tongue doing with the food? How is it going down your throat? What part of the anatomy is it moving through as it moves down to your throat, down into your esophagus, down into your stomach, and then what's happening in your intestines, and so forth. So I had them track the path of food of their Thanksgiving dinner. They got a kick out of it, and it was an opportunity for them to be mindful about the food that they are eating and what it's doing in your body and how it's being processed and so forth. I mean, you can even take, of course I had my students do it, but I had taken them all the way through the elimination process too, because we were looking at the anatomy of the digestive system for that particular activity. So spending time mindfully eating our food, mindful about the choices of the food we're making. Is it just a means to an end? Is it just something to solve your hunger? Or is it something that you are absolutely going to enjoy and is going to be so beneficial for your body? That doesn't mean that, a good piece of chocolate is not something that we can have every once in a while. It doesn't mean that we should eliminate any kind of food. That's all up to you and how the food is reacting in your body. But I'm talking about actually being mindful about every single thing that we put into our bodies and seeing how we can create a better understanding of our bodies, which will lead to us having a better relationship with our bodies. And that really, I think, is key to a lot of things. I think this, idea of hating our bodies and being in a constant fight. Like, I have a battle with my weight. I'm looking to lose weight. I mean, all of those are kind of negative connotations. You don't really want to lose anything. And then, of course, we lose weight, and then, of course, we find it again. And so, those kind of things. So it's just like, what can we do to enhance the relationship we have with our body through our eating and through our movement? This is a great opportunity for you to spend some time this week actually seeing how your body is working in relationship to your movement, to your food, to your daily life. You could even check in with your sleep and see how mindful you can make your sleep instead of just, collapsing on the bed at night. Are you doing a mindful practice as you're going through your evening routine to get into that state of being receptive for a good night's sleep? So, check through your life and see what areas you might be able to apply a little bit more mindfulness to begin to have a different experience with our bodies. I mean, this is the vessel that we have to be moving about in this plane of existence. And until we decide we no longer need to be here, this is what we've got. And so how can we be in a better relationship with it? If you want to, I would love to hear your comments about it and how it's working for you during the week. You can always put a comment here on the YouTube channel, or send us on our Facebook page. Send me an email directly to my contact information is on our website. And so take a time to, really spend with your body this week and see what changes you can begin to bring into your life. It is a great practice. I found it to be very beneficial. It's still a work in progress and will be until I decide that I'm no longer needed here. And so this is our opportunity. This is our opportunity to really put what we're talking about into practice in a practical, real life way that can bring about a change in our lives, in the conditions of our lives. So have a glorious week, everyone. I hope to see you back here next week on our Wednesday evening service. If you want, I also do a wonderful little short clip on Thursday mornings called Keeping It Real. And again, I'm talking about mindfulness in that practice too. So it'll give you a little 7 or 8 minute clip on a little bit more, a little different perspective maybe on mindful eating and movement. So have a great week, everyone, and we will see you again next week. Bye-bye.